What's up, everybody? Welcome to PLD-1138 on the PLD Project's YouTube channel, my little slice of the YouTube universe. I am your host. It's PLD. And here on this show, we'll go into a little bit of news, a little bit of reviews, and then a media walkthrough continuation. And I'll get to that when I get to it. So let's just get right into it, right? Let's go with this week's news. It was kind of small news this week, not too much, mostly in the form of rumor and conjecture and some minor releases. But let's see what we got. The first rumor that hit the ground running was one of my favorites. Michael Biehn, possibly being cast as a bounty hunter, perhaps, in The Mandalorian Season 2. If that's true, I'm ecstatic. I love Michael Biehn. I've seen him you see him in The Rock, you see him in The Abyss. Of course, he's Kyle Reese in The Terminator. Always a great head, Aliens as well. Always a great action-oriented hero or anti-hero or something to that effect. So hoping that this is true. We haven't getting confirmation. I don't believe yet, as far as I know. But Michael Biehn will be a welcome addition if it's, especially if it's a featured role. Hoping it's not just for one episode. I'm hoping it's going to be something we get to see him quite a few times. It would be great. Of course, with the way season 2 is already wrapping up with people, it seems like we're going to be getting a lot of little tidbits of characters. Maybe not enough to fill out those 3 or 4 episodes, so we might only get them for one. But I'm hoping for more than one because he's one of my favorite supporting actors. One of my favorite, one of those guys, like those guys that you look for that are going to amp up a project and make it worth your while. That was the first piece of news. We had some more minor news with regards to The Mandalorian. Ashley Eckstein, who of course has been voicing Ahsoka Tano ever since her creation in the Clone Wars cartoon way back in 2008. She had responded to the Rosario Dawson rumors. Now, Rosario Dawson still has not been confirmed by Lucasfilm or Disney, although most of the trades has picked it up, so it's probably only a matter of time, or at least they'll wait till like a celebration of some kind, if we have a celebration. The things are going, but some kind of bigger venue to announce it. They'll probably just not deny it at this point. But Ashley did have to respond to all the people asking about it, which makes sense. And her comments were interesting to me, I thought. Let's read what she had to say. She says, last week a rumor was released about Ahsoka Tano being in the in season 2 of The Mandalorian. I've read all your questions and comments about this story, and thank you for your patience as I've taken the much needed time to sort through these questions. The truth is, I am not involved in The Mandalorian. I can't answer questions for something I have not been a part of. I am an actress, and I have performed in all types of mediums: live action, film, television, theater, voiceover, hosting, and it has been my dream for 14 years to continue to play Ahsoka Tano in all forms. I will continue to be grateful for opportunities to help create stories for Ahsoka Tano, and I am always happy to see her legacy continue. I am only one member of a tremendously talented team of people that it takes to bring Ahsoka Tano to life. The final decisions for Ahsoka are not mine to make, and I cannot comment on something that I truly know nothing about. That's a very deep comment to get into. It seems like, she's obviously not confirming anything. She's basically pleading ignorance. But the fact that she commented on it does say something. It tells me she says, quite frankly, point blank, that she is not involved in Mandalorian Season 2. So if we do have an Ahsoka Tano, it is definitely not her, which will upset some fans. And it seems to me like it definitely upsets Ashley as well. On the other hand, she is very professional about it. She, for the most part, she says that, that she's grateful to have been a part of it. She loves everything to do with the character. It's kind of that one of those like double-edged kind of comments. I mean, she definitely shows her disappointment. There's the one line specifically about how she is a live-action actress. Wants to make that clear. I don't know if it's rather just about Ahsoka Tano or rather to get the idea that she's just a voice actress. Now, she's not just a voice actress. She also says, though, it's been my dream for 14 years to continue to play Ahsoka Tano in all forms. It's her dream to play her live action. That's what that means. The fact that she's not, well, seems like a safe comment. Like the final decisions for Ahsoka are not mine to make, and I cannot comment on something that I truly know nothing about. That seems to me that's her way of being able to have plausible deniability. She's not involved in the Mandalorian. She doesn't know any of the decisions, so she will not comment on it. a lot to be a lot, a lot in that in those little comments. But I think at the end of the day, it's the right way to be. She would want to respond to the questions. She responded. She did it professionally for the most part, while still letting it be known that if you read between the lines, she's definitely a little disappointed about it. That's okay. I think that's okay. I don't think it's going to bite her in the ass anyway. I think it's a perfectly logical, perfectly normal for her to be a little bit disappointed about it. But it doesn't seem like she's going to let it be a problem moving forward. So, the other bit of news we had from this week was the Marvel Comics released Bounty Hunters #2, about the continuing adventures of cyborg hunter Valance, who is trying to find his old mentor, Nakano Lash, after she betrayed him and the other bounty hunters years before. There's a lot of bounty hunters involved. This is the second issue, and if I'm going to be honest, I want more out of it. It's not connecting with me very well, to be honest. I don't know what it is. I like Valance from his previous runs in like Darth Vader, and but he's not hooking me in this one. It just doesn't seem. I don't know. It doesn't seem quite as gripping as it could have been. I did like seeing Bosk, and Boba Fett does make an appearance, which is always something cool to discuss. But at the same time, it just doesn't seem to get very exciting. I didn't really. I mean, the best part it was to see Boba Fett and Boss. So what are we doing here? I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Excuse me. I'm not sure what happened here, but we'll have to see how it goes on. I'm still going to read it. I'm a completist. Hopefully it'll pick up. They do mention Dr. Afra as well, which I love, little connections like that. But all in all, it is okay to read. I'm not going to be excited about looking to Bounty Hunters 3. I will read it. Hopefully it picks up. That's all we got really there. And the next piece of news is my review of the Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 6, Deal or No Deal. And no, Howie Mandel did not make any appearance. Yes, the continuing adventures of Ahsoka and the sisters she found on 1313, Rafa and Trace. And it's an interesting story. It's going to be a 4-part arc, I believe. Most of them usually are. And given that Siege of Mandalore is a 4-part arc, and we already had a 4-part arc, it seems like this will also be a 4-part arc, because it definitely doesn't end with this one. It's an interesting story. It's good seeing Ahsoka really delve deep into the differences between living on top of Coruscant and living in the underworld. The differences between having an education that was provided for her, people who can't afford the higher education. There's some good moments, such as when she's obviously not wanting to tell them about being a Jedi. She says that she went to an academy on top called Skywalker Academy. Pretty funny. But here I like this one. I actually like this episode better than the last episode. The last episode kind of got some introductory things out of the way. Here we get into some meat and potatoes of Ahsoka going into the galaxy. A friend of hers, Trace, is the younger sister, and she seems to be a bit, I don't know, naive is the right word, because she's got street smarts overall, but she's definitely very limited in her experience on things. Whereas Rafa is definitely the one who's trying to get, she's a little more into the seedied underworld, so to speak. But even she has a bit of innocence, naive to her. But she books a job, and her pilot cancels on her, so she needs to rely on Trace, despite not wanting to get her involved initially. Ahsoka tagging along, and they get to go into the galaxy and go to Kessel. But before they do, the best moment of the episode is a little bit of a cameo from Yularen and Anakin, where they fly by the Star Destroyer or Republic spaceship, the Republic cruiser that has them on it, and Anakin senses Ahsoka's presence. It's not shown if he actually understands it's Ahsoka, but you can intimate that he does. Definitely was very familiar to the Return of the Jedi scene, where Vader senses Luke on board the ship that's heading to the forest moon of Endor with the parts and supplies and technical crew. And just like Vader, he lets her pass. This was a little more genuine in the empathy and the emotions. But it was a very nice sequence overall. It was very subtle, very subtly done, but I liked it a lot. It's good seeing Anakin as well. And this it seems like she's so cut off everything. It was nice to just get a snippet back into that world. Snippet. See what I did there? I didn't even mean to. Anyway, the threesome gets to Kessel, and it's obviously that this is becoming more and more a criminal activity. They're going to be running spice now. Of course, spice can be turned into medicine, as they make it clear, but it's definitely Ahsoka knows better at this point, even if everyone else doesn't quite get it. But they have some kind of issues. They have some kind of moral quandaries and differences, and Ahsoka fears that they're getting too deeply involved in a place that they don't understand, which is probably true. And then Trace makes a very dumb, rash decision, and Ahsoka tries to get them out of it using some Jedi wiles. Doesn't quite get there, but we go with the cliffhanger. But at the end of the day, the episode, I would say, is less lower on action than some people might like. I don't know if there was much of a blaster fight at all, or no lasers, no lightsabers, no. Yeah, it was pretty much all emotion and all storyline. But that's okay to have. I like that. I actually kind of like that. It kind of developed Ahsoka's character at this point. We don't have a lot of time left, and Siege of Mandalore is going to be the culmination of Ahsoka being on her own, not as a Jedi anymore, but still being a warrior. So we need pretty much this whole 4-episode arc to really delve deep into her psyche, getting her out of the Jedi Order, but able to move to the point where she can be in charge of the Siege of Mandalore that's coming up. It seems like it's all moving towards that. So overall, I would say good. I'd say a good 4 out of 5. I was going to give it that way. I'm interested to see more. I can't wait to happen. What's going to be happening next week. And like Ahsoka, the two other characters, Trace and Rafa, they're fine. I don't know if I'll ever watch them again. Anything else afterwards? We don't know what happened to them, of course. So, but overall, they serve their purpose, which is this is all about Ahsoka. All about Ahsoka. So, let's see, quick glance through there. There's the so sequences are there. There's Rafa. Of course, that's the other thing I failed to bring up. The Pikes. The Pikes were involved. They were running spice to the Pikes, and that's a very interesting. The Pikes were kind of a late addition to the Clone Wars, and again, to everything else, they were never really a part of the original Star Wars saga. So this, or the expanded universe, they were a late George Lucas addition to the criminal underworld. So I like bringing them up, getting them more involved. I would like to find out more about them, get more in depth with them. So that was definitely a good aspect of the show. Now we move on finally to the media walkthrough. We end 1977. I did issue 7 last time. I looked through the next couple issues, and we're going to go 8 through 9. 8 against the world, Stars against the Cloud Riders, which I'll get to, and then Han, the Behemoth from below. Well, what's basically happening here is kind of like the 7 Samurai trope. That's really what it is. Han and Chewie have been, as we knew, left them last issue. Issue 7, they had lost their fortune that they had just won for saving the day against the Death Star on Yavin. And they're forced to make their way to kind of get some of that money back. And this way they do is it's a 7 Samurai trope. They get hired by a local peasant, local farmers to save them from some local pirates and gangs. So Han and Chewie agree in order to do the job. They recruit some local ruffians and people they tend to somehow know. And of course, it's the famous addition of Jackson, who is kind of a famous expanded universe character, and then he's a big green bunny rabbit, a big green talking bunny rabbit. It's one of those things that you gotta accept and laugh at. In fact, some of the alien designs are a little wonky out there. But the trope works as a whole. Han and Chewie have some great chemistry together. As always, it's well written that way. There's a little bit of a sidebar with Luke looking for a new base for the rebels. They don't go too much into that, kind of like they are preparing for something down the line that never really took off for them. But it's a good adventure story for Han and deluded Jedi Knight Don Juan. There's a lot of other cool interactions between some bounty hunter types and some mercenary types. And of course, they save the day from both pirates and from the Behemoth below. a big, large alien monster. So you get some monster movie action, you get some Seven Samurai action. They're doing it all for you. It's fun. It's fun. It's pulpy. It's comic books from the 70s. You know what you're going to get there. Definitely not going to be of the more realistic fashion. They're going to be much more bizarre and out there. But there's definitely an audience for it. I will say that the two most important things about this run were the Cloud Riders. The pirates are named the Cloud Riders, and of course, if that sounds familiar to you, you recognize that from Solo, a Star Wars story. John Kasdan, the writer, decided to take the Cloud Riders and cherry pick that and use that name for the group Enfys Nests. Enfys Nests pirates / rebels were also called the Cloud Riders. So it's interesting that it's a Solo story and into a different Solo story. But like little cherry picks, like little tags there. And finally, I think that should be said is this is the last issue from Roy Thomas and Howard Chaykin. They had written the first 6, the adaptions, and wrote this first arc basically. And then afterwards, Archie Goodwin and Carmine Infantino would take over. Chaykin wanted to do more personal types of art, and according to Roy Thomas in his letter pages, he said the decision was for him a bit more complicated and personal. It is what it is. That ended that arc, and with that, that ends this week's episode of PLD-1138. This is actually closer to the shorter form I wanted to do. I wanted to do 15 to 20 minutes. I have been doing about a half an hour. But either way, I hope you enjoyed your short time with me, and hopefully you'll come back for my show about PLD Views, and you'll come back next week for more PLD-1138. You can follow me at Paul_Denuzio. You can hit that like button. You can hit that subscribe button. That'd be great. I'm at 97 right now. Only 3 more to get to 100. You can also find me on Call to Actions podcast, the after show for the movie Trivia Schmodown. You can also find me on Class Action on the Action Industries YouTube channel as well. As far as this channel goes, I do have some more shows that are in the works. Again, I don't know when they're going to start. I do want to go through filmographies of some of my favorite actors and directors. Perhaps I'm going to walk through. I also want to come up with some different, maybe more interactive content, some more game content, possibly not video games, but like sometimes I can play some games with my favorite genres and musics and fantasies, sci-fi, all that jazz. But I'll let you know about that as soon as I come up with it, basically. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see, if anything, or any suggestions on this or any other show. But until then, I salute you and have a good day. May the force be with you, always.